Chapter 9, Lesson 4, Graph Relationships. Our learning objective is you will use table values to write ordered pairs and graph the relationship between two quantities, then find an unknown value of y. That sounds like a lot. Don't feel overwhelmed because it won't be that much. So the essential question is, how can you graph the relationship between two quantities? Connect. You have learned that tables and equations are two ways to represent the relationship between two quantities. You can also represent a relationship between two quantities by using a graph. Unlock the problem. A cafeteria has a pancake making machine. The table shows the relationship between the time in hours and the number of pancakes that the machine can make. Graph the relationship represented by the table. Use the table values to graph the relationship. Step 1. Write the ordered pairs. So let X represent the time in hours and Y represent the number of pancakes made. Use rows of the table to write an ordered pair. So what we're doing is we are just writing these numbers in pairs. So for the first one, they put 1, 200. So now we're going to put 2, 400, 3, 600, 4, 800, and 5, 1000. Step 2. Choose an appropriate scale for each axis of the graph. Label the axes and give the graph a title. So down here it says, so it gave the graph a title right here. That's your title. And then it says choose an appropriate scale for each axis of the graph. So down here they the time in hours, they did the scale just by 1. So 1, 2, so we're going to continue with 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, it's really hard to write that small. But over here on the y-axis, you can see that they jumped from 0 to 200, but there was a line in between here. So this would be 100 here. 200, this would be 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000. So they didn't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, because if we had to do that all the way up to 1,000, that would be a massive piece of graphing paper. So instead, they just did it by 100. So each line represents 100. So that would be the appropriate scale, and then they had to label the axes. So they labeled the y-axis pancakes made, and they labeled the x-axis time in hours. And then the third step was the title. So then we're going to just plot it. So we look at those ordered pairs that we had, which is 1, 200. They showed that there. 2, 400, which would be here. 3, 600. Oh, that is a 6. I couldn't read my own handwriting. 2, 400. 3, 600. 4, 800, and 5. 3. Where did I mess up? 3, 4. 5 was 1,000, and we didn't have to graph anything for 6. What pattern do you notice in the set of points you graphed? The pattern that I noticed is that they lie in a straight line. If I drew a line to connect them, it would just be one straight line. Example, the table shows the relationship between the number of bicycles, Y, Sean has left to assemble, and the number of hours, X, he has worked. Graph the relationship represented by the table to find the unknown value of Y. Step 1 is to write the ordered pairs. Use each row of the table to write an ordered pair. Skip the row with unknown values. Just like I did last time, you're just going to go through and make these into ordered pairs. So the first one is 0, 10. The next one is 1, 8. Then we don't know this one, so we're going to skip that. So then it goes 3, 4, 4, 2. Step 2 is to graph a point for each ordered pair on a coordinate plane. Coordinate plane is just that graph paper. So we're just going to graph those on here. Let's see if I can. There we go. Let's try this. So graph each point. So we're going to graph 0, 10. They already have for us. Then we go to 1, 8. And then 3, 4. And then 4, 2. Okay, so knowing what we know about those ordered pairs, we're going to move to step 3 to find the unknown y value. The points on the graph appear on the line, so use a ruler to draw a dashed line through the points. I don't have a ruler that I can set on the screen, so bear with me on my line. Oops, I already messed up. Okay, so that's not a very good line, but you should use a ruler or a side of a book or something. And then when you do that, you see, use the line to find the y value that corresponds to an x value of 2. So we start at the 2 and start at the origin, move 2 to the right, and then up until the line meets, which should be right here at the 6. So then x has a value of 2. The value of y would be, oops, what did I just hit? Here we go. Then the value would be 6. So after 2 hours, Sean has 6 bicycles left to assemble. Again, that was hard for me to sketch, but all you're doing is plotting what we know, and then you're drawing a line to hit all those points, and then see where that line intersects that y-axis, where the y-axis is hit above the 2 on the x-axis. Okay, so another way you could find an unknown value of the y table is to look for the pattern in the table. For each increase of 1 of the value of x, the value of y decreased by 2, because when y equals x and x equals 1, the value of y when x equals 2 is 8 minus 2, which is 6. So there's 2 different ways you could look for the pattern in the table, or you could have just plotted and drawn your line.